Our next presenter is Alby Marsh. Now, Alby hails from Ngāti Ranginui and Ngā Puhi. He's a Māori stakeholder relationship manager at, now I've got to get this right, Te Rangahau Ahumara Kai, Plant and Food Research. He's heavily involved in a number of collaborative committees, including the NZ Agricultural Greenhouse Gas Research Centre, NZ Food Safety Science and Research Centre, the Food Industry Enabling Technologies, and he's also the Deputy Chair of Te Ara Pūtaiao, which is the cross-CRI Māori working group, and has been involved in a number of projects internationally as well, including the Building Resilience in Indigenous Communities through an engagement project with Australia. So I'll hand it over to Alby Marsh. Kia ora tātou.
So you just need to key the... will this still work? No, I need to set up. Give me a second, I'll just follow up for you.
Kia ora tātou. Yeah, this can go swimmingly or it can turn to the proverbial, and it's looking like it's starting to turn to the proverbial. Never mind. But kia ora tātou. Ka nui te mihi ki a koutou, e hara mai nei ki te tautoko te kaupapa o te rā. Tēnei te mihi ki a koutou, ki ngā tauiri rā mai te otiputi. Tēnei te mihi ki a koutou, nei mā hara mai. Ko wai au, no Ngā Puhi me Tauranga Moana, ngā iwi, ko i mahi ana hau ki te Rangahau Ahumara Kai, ki te papai o ia. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Okay.
Lovely.
All right. Okay, so my talk today is about engagement really, and why we need engagement with tangata whenua or Māori. Why do we need to engage? Because a lot of our focus in the past, especially when there's been incursions, has been around the economic impact. But what we tend to overlook and forget is the other impacts that new incursions may have, and this is the environmental, the social and the cultural, which Māori are very much embedded in. So our project's about engaging Indigenous communities, because what we need is an inclusive approach, not an exclusive approach, and something that's not driven solely by the economic impact. What is engagement? Well, the preference is face-to-face. Why? Because people want to see what you look like, want to see what you're saying is right. You know, they want to look into the whites of your eyes and just to make sure that it is the truth that you're talking about. But it's also about relationships. Let's develop a relationship. Okay, I mentioned before it's about being inclusive, not exclusive. And relationships are about being open and honest, having that communication pathway with no hidden agendas. It's not driven by time or money, as Andrea alluded to in the previous talk. A lot of what's hindered this engagement has been a lack of time and a lack of resources to support it. So it's not driven by time and money, it's developing trust in that relationship, and what you get out of that is an enduring relationship. So what we have done is we partnered as part of this collaborative project funded by the Plant Biosecurity CRC, or Collaborative Research Centre, which is an Australian-based organisation. We developed this in partnership with our colleagues out of Charles Darwin University, the Northern Institute up there, and what they spoke about is their hardships, their lack of representation, and the lack of a voice at the higher tables. So they sort of look to us as a bit of a guiding light. They look to us because we have a treaty, and they think, and it's not always the case, but they think that we have good relationships with agencies and government. But yeah, we had to put them a little straight on that, but never mind. Out of this project, we developed 2 engagement models. The purple one, or I don't know, mauve, whatever. That colour is representing the Aboriginal engagement model, and the green one, the Māori engagement model. So this model was developed using the analogy of karaka, or the process of detoxifying karaka. The reason why we've used the karaka berry is because it's a time-worn process, but it's also a process that can't skip stages, because what you run the risk of is not removing all those toxins. So if you skip any stage of that process, there is a possibility that you could be affected by the food that you eat. So just going through it, we speak about the right time and the right people. So who are the right people? And that's a question. Who do we engage with? And when is the right time to do that? Is it when you have an incursion or prior to having an incursion? Do you use those connections that are already present? So you may have people within your organisation that whakapapa into those hotspots. Is it not better off to use them rather than go in there cold? So it's identifying who the right people are that can form those connections, also the right time. So the best time is probably before rather than during, because as Andrea said before, you don't have that time to form those relationships during. Ideas and vision. So the next part of that is about presenting what your ideas, the purpose or the kaupapa of you wanting to meet with this community. Let's look at what those expectations are, what you're hoping to seek out of it. Okay? So that's the second stage. The third stage is about preparing. So let's get rid of all the non-essential stuff, so to speak. Let's look at what drives the community you're engaging with, but also whether it links into the purpose for you being there. And it may not. So you need a bit of a discussion about, what is meaningful for the community you're engaging with, and whether you can shift, your purpose or reason for being there. So it's about having those discussions and clarifying the ideas. Is once you've got rid of all the non-essentials, so to speak, let's talk about what's driving this. What do you hope to achieve? But let's also think about the community you're engaging with. What is important to them? And it may not be the economic opportunities that come out of it. It may be environmental. Let's look after Papatūānuku. Let's look after Tāne Māhuta. So that may be what drives them, okay? Because it's about retaining the use of those areas for the future generations. One of the things a lot of communities need is time. Time to discuss what you've presented. They need to have a discussion amongst themselves without your presence there. So you may not get a decision that day, and it may not be next week, but you will get a decision when they're ready. And that's the key. You've got to make time to build this relationship, to build this engagement. After that, you come to a consensus, and this is open and honest discussion. So coming up to a point where you both agree on what you're focusing on and agree on an outcome. Then at the end of it, you share the results. So it's normally with kai. Okay? You share kai because that brings everyone together, and that shows that whanaungatanga, that kinship, that relationship has been developed and is developing. Most of the process is principle or value driven. So there's a reason why a lot of these communities engage. But what they have is a principle for a certain process. So kotahitanga is about reaching those common goals, coming together. I know I'm running out of Rangatiratanga, I've got a video. Rangatiratanga is about, recognising the authority that they have over the land. It's about understanding what their needs are, what drives them. Whanaungatanga, we spoke about that very briefly. It's about relationships. Let's get that relationship right, because everything else will flow from that strong relationship. Taitiakitanga, it's about the guardianship of that land, as I spoke of, the water, the bush, all of those environmental things. Mana whenua, you need to recognise that people, especially Māori communities, are going to be there forever and ever, so to speak. They're not going to sell up tomorrow, they're not going to go abroad, although some of our relations have, but they're not going to go abroad, go and leave that land uncared for. So you know that they're always going to be there. Tikanga and kawa, so that's what the process is guided by. The kawa is, I suppose, terms of reference, and your tikanga is Māori law, L-O-R-E. Manaakitanga, and that's hospitality, that's embracing you and the people in a caring way. Well, we haven't got time for that, but I did have a short video there. 6 minutes. Okay. All right. So that's gone by the wayside. I'll just leave you with this thought. Mā te whakaatu, ka mōhio, mā te mōhio, ka marama, mā te marama, ka mātou, mā te mātou, ka ora. So through resonance comes cognizance. So through an idea, through an experience comes knowledge. Through that knowledge comes understanding. Through the understanding, through the understanding comes knowledge. They've got that wrong. And through knowledge comes life. So kia ora tātou.
Kia ora, Alby. We do have a couple of minutes for questions, so he pātai.
I just want to say thank you for actually defining engagement. I come from the non-government sector and I see, different ways that people conceptualise engagement and that people actually engage. So it's nice to actually see it defined as to what the steps are. Thank you.
Maybe one more question, thank you. Down the back here.
Question like that again.
Kia ora. It's less of a question, also a comment. It's a fantastic framework. Is that available somewhere for people to share and etc.?
Yeah, because it was supported by the Plant Biosecurity CRC, it's available on their website. And there is a short video, and what we are hoping to do is develop a program where we can actually present it to organisations that are interested, because it's all about context, and some things can be taken out of context, so it's important that we provide the right context for that as well. So cool.
Thank you. Kia ora, Alby. Thank you again. I'd just like you to join me in showing your appreciation. Thank you.